Hola chicos, today's lesson is how to conjugate verbs ending in ER and IR. The steps of conjugating an ER or an IR verb are the same as they were for an AR verb, where first you remove the ending to get to the stem. So in this case, you're going to remove the ER or the IR from the end of the infinitive to get to our stem. Then you're going to add the appropriate ending. And this is where the ER and IR verbs differ from the AR verbs because the endings are slightly different. So that's what we're going to explore today. So here's a list of ER and IR verbs that we are going to be working with. So like I said, the first step is to remove the ending. So in the ERs, we just remove the ER. So for correr becomes cor, leer, le, comer, com, aprender, aprend. And for the IR verbs, it's the same process. You remove the IR ending. So vivir becomes viv, escribir, escrib, abrir, ab. The second step is to add the appropriate ending. So like I said before, this is where the difference comes in between the ER and IR verbs versus the AR verbs. So let's look at our ER verb endings first. The yo ending is o, tú, es, él, usted, e, nosotros, hemos, ustedes, ellos, ellas, en. For an IR verb, the endings are o, es, e, hemos, en. So you'll notice that the only difference between the ER verb endings and the IR verb endings is in that nosotros form. ER verbs will go to hemos, whereas IR verbs will go to hemos. Apart from this difference, all the other forms are the same. Let's see what it looks like when we are conjugating these verbs. So let's take the verb correr. Correr is an ER verb. So we're going to use our ER verb endings. The first step is to remove the ER to get our stem, cor. Then we add our ER verb endings, o, es, e, hemos, en. So when we conjugate the verb correr, we get corro, corres, corre, corremos, corren. So to use this in a sentence, you can say, for example, Paco y Juan corren en el parque. Paco and Juan are running in the park. Corren. Now let's take a look at an IR verb. The verb vivir, which means to live. Since vivir ends in IR, we're going to use our IR verb endings. And the first step is to chop off that IR to get our stem, viv. Now we need to add on our IR verb endings, o, es, e, hemos, en. Remembering that the nosotros is the different form, where we take hemos instead of hemos. So when we conjugate the verb vivir, we get vivo, vives, vive, vivimos, and viven. So for example, mi familia y yo vivimos en los Estados Unidos. My family and I live in the United States. At this point, you may want to pause the video so that you can fill in the next two conjugation charts on your activity sheet before we move on to sentences. Now let's see what these verbs look like when we put them into sentences. So for number one, Esteban, una quesadilla. The verb is comer, so I want to say Esteban's eating a quesadilla. So since comer is an ER verb, those will be the endings that we are working with. We remove the ER to get our stem, com. And we have to pick the correct ending. So to match with Esteban, we're going to use our el ending since we are speaking about him. So our el ending is e. So we take our stem com, we add e, come. Esteban come una quesadilla. For number two, this is a question. And since I see it says que, tú, I'm speaking in the tú form. The verb is leer. So this question is asking, what are you reading? What I do first is I remove that ER from the verb leer to get our stem le, and I add my tú ending, which is es. Lees. ¿Qué lees tú? For number three, los estudiantes, español, and the verb is aprender. So I want to say the students are learning Spanish. Aprender, we take off our ER, we get aprend. Then we need to add the correct ending, which in this case, since I'm speaking about students, I'm going to be using the ellos form, which is en. So, aprenden. Los estudiantes aprenden español. Number 4, mi familia y yo. Now this tells me I'm speaking in the nosotros form, since I'm speaking about myself plus my family. So whatever it is, we're going to have to pay attention since it's the nosotros form, and that's where the verb's different depending on if it's an ER or an IR verb. So mi familia y yo, en los Estados Unidos, the verb is vivir. Vivir is an IR verb, so my ending, after I take off the IR, I get my stem viv, and I know my ending is going to be the IR, nosotros ending, imos. So vivimos. Mi familia y yo vivimos en los Estados Unidos. In contrast, number 5, mis amigos y yo will also take the nosotros form, but here we're using the verb correr, to run, and the rest of the phrase is en el parque. So I want to say my friends and I are running in the park. Correr, being an ER verb, will take the ER nosotros ending of hemos. So when I take off the ER, I get cor. I add my nosotros ending hemos, and I get corremos. Mis amigos y yo corremos en el parque. And last, number 6, tú, la puerta, the verb is abrir. I want to say you open the door. So abrir, we take off our IR, we're left with abr, that is our stem. And now we need to add the to ending, which is es. Tú abres la puerta. This concludes the video tutorial on how to conjugate ER and IR verbs. At this point, you can continue on to the additional activities and on your activity sheet, or if you feel that you need more review, you may replay this video again. Adios!